On her wedding day, the bride gets a letter revealing that her fiancé is also secretly engaged to her sister. The veil was barely pinned when it happened. An envelope slid under the door, plain, unmarked, waiting like a trap. Her hands shook as she opened it. Just one line. He is engaged to your sister as well. The words cut deeper than any blade. Her chest tightened. Her knees weakened. Outside, drums, laughter, music. Inside, silence, so heavy it crushed her. She read it again, and again. The sentence didn't change. Her sister's face flashed in her mind. The same sister who stood by her side, who smiled at her dress fitting, who whispered blessings in her ear just last night. Could it be true? Or was this some cruel lie meant to ruin her? A knock rattled the door. Are you ready? A voice called. Her fist clenched around the letter, crumpling it tight. The paper dug into her palm, sharp as betrayal itself. She looked in the mirror. A bride dressed in gold. A secret dressed in ash. Ready? The word echoed like a curse. And with the drums beating louder, she knew this wedding would not be whole. The drums shook the walls. The knock grew louder. Come on, everyone is waiting. She forced a breath, folded the letter, slipped it into her sleeve. The weight of paper felt heavier than gold. When the door opened, her sister stepped in, smiling, glowing, the kind of smile only a sister can give. Beautiful, her sister whispered, fixing the edge of her veil. Her touch was gentle, her eyes innocent. For a heartbeat, the bride almost asked, almost showed her the letter, almost shattered everything. But her mouth stayed shut. Her heart screamed instead. The sister laughed lightly. He won't take his eyes off you today. The words stabbed. The bride turned away, afraid her face would betray her. Guests outside chanted, calling for the ceremony to begin. Every sound felt like a countdown. She looked at her sister again. Could it be true? Was she helping her dress for a man who promised himself to them both? The letter burned in her sleeve, and for the first time, she wondered, was today a wedding or a stage for betrayal? The music roared louder as the doors opened. The bride stepped out, veil trembling with each breath. Gasps, smiles, cheers. Every eye turned to her. Every step felt like walking through fire. Her sister walked beside her, carrying the train of her gown. Their arms brushed. The secret between them was invisible, yet unbearable. At the end of the aisle stood the groom, tall, confident, waiting. His smile was perfect, too perfect. She searched his face for guilt. Nothing. He looked at her as if he belonged to her alone. But the letter in her sleeve whispered otherwise. The vows began. Voices blurred. She heard only fragments. Do you take? Promise to honor? Till death do you part? Her lips parted, but no words came. The hall fell quiet, waiting for her answer. Her sister's eyes caught hers, warm, trusting, unaware. The groom squeezed her hand, waiting for, yes. The world held its breath. Her heart did too. Would she speak, or would she choke on the truth? The silence stretched. Every heartbeat in the room seemed louder than the drums. The groom's hand pressed hers, steady, reassuring. Her sister's gaze was fixed, glowing with pride. The guests leaned forward, waiting. Her throat burned. Her tongue felt heavy. The letter in her sleeve was a weight she couldn't escape. Finally, yes, she whispered. The word trembled, but it was enough. The hall erupted with cheers. The priest smiled, moved to the next vow. The groom's voice rang clear, firm, unshaken. I do. Applause thundered. Roses were tossed. Drums clashed in celebration. But inside her chest, nothing celebrated. Her yes was not a promise. It was a prison. As the veil was lifted and the groom leaned close to kiss her, she wondered, did he taste of betrayal? Or would he hide it so well she'd never know the difference? The hall rejoiced. Her sister clapped the loudest. And all the while, the crumpled letter dug into her palm, a reminder that this wedding was only half the truth. The hall glittered with lights and laughter. Guests crowded the tables, raising glasses, tossing petals. The bride smiled when they looked at her, a smile stitched together with pain. The groom stood proudly at her side, hand firm on hers. His voice boomed with charm, thanking family, praising love. Every word sounded perfect, too perfect. Her sister floated through the crowd, greeting relatives, laughing with cousins. Every time the bride's eyes found her, the letter's words echoed louder. He is engaged to your sister as well. She watched closely now. Every glance, every move. Did his eyes linger on her sister too long? Did her sister smile back with something hidden? Or was it all in her mind, paranoia born of one cruel letter? A toast was called. The groom lifted his glass, shining with confidence. To my wife, he declared, looking straight at her. Applause thundered. Her lips curved into a smile, but inside, her stomach twisted. For a moment, she almost believed the letter was a lie, until she saw it. Her sister's hand brushed the groom's arm as she passed behind him. Too familiar, too soft, and his smile, just for a second, changed. The bride's heart stopped. The letter might not be a lie after all. The music softened. Guests drifted toward the dance floor. The bride sat, smiling for the crowd, her heart pounding beneath the silk. Across the room, her sister leaned close to the groom. Not unusual. They'd known each other for years, but tonight, every movement carried weight. The bride sipped water, pretending not to notice. Her ears sharpened. She caught fragments of their words through the laughter and drums. Soon, not here, trust me. Her hand tightened around the glass. The words blurred into the music again. No one else noticed. Only her. The groom straightened, spotting her watching. His smile was instant, flawless. The sister laughed too, as if nothing had happened. But the bride's pulse raced. Those whispers weren't nothing. Later, when the dances began, she slipped away to the hallway. Cool air, empty walls, silence, until footsteps followed. She turned. Her sister stood there, breathless, veil of innocence intact. You disappeared, the sister said softly. Are you all right? The bride forced a smile. I'm fine. But her mind screamed. Should she ask? Should she throw the letter in her face? Instead, she said nothing, because if she spoke too soon, she might break the family apart before knowing the whole truth. The music called her back inside. The bride returned to the hall, smile painted thin. The groom was waiting at the edge of the dance floor. He offered his hand. Shall we? Her fingers touched his, and the crowd cheered as they stepped into the center. The drums beat faster, the lights brighter. They moved in rhythm, his grip strong around her waist. But her eyes searched his face, hunting for cracks. He leaned close, voice low enough for only her. You look pale, he said. Are you nervous? Nervous. If only he knew. She forced a laugh. It's a wedding. Brides get nervous. His eyes held hers, too steady, too calm. No sign of guilt. And yet, when the dance ended, she saw it. A glance. Quick, sharp. Not at her. At her sister. Their eyes met for a fraction of a second, and in that second, something passed between them. Something unspoken. The bride's breath caught. Her chest tightened. When the applause roared again, the groom kissed her hand. The perfect husband. The perfect lie. The bride smiled for the crowd, but her heart screamed the truth. This was not her wedding. It was a performance. And sooner or later, someone would forget their lines. The night stretched on. Guests drank, laughed, and danced. The bride sat stiff in her chair, her eyes tracking every move. Her sister slipped away toward the hallway. Moments later, the groom followed. Her chest tightened. No one else noticed, only her. She rose quickly, excusing herself with a smile. Her steps were light, silent against the carpet. Down the corridor, she slowed. Shadows stretched long. Voices murmured. She couldn't see them, but she heard enough. Not now. now, be patient, after tonight. Her breath caught. She pressed herself against the wall, heart racing. Footsteps approached. She darted into a side room, veil brushing the doorframe. The groom passed by first, alone, his face unreadable. Her sister followed seconds later, adjusting her dupatta, cheeks flushed. The bride's stomach churned. She turned and froze. On the table in the room she'd hidden inside, a phone buzzed. Not hers, not any guests. The screen lit up with a message from the groom. We'll talk after the wedding. Trust me. The recipient's name glowed. Her sister. The bride's hand shook as she set the phone back down. Her chest hollowed out. The letter had not lied. The bride slipped back into the hall. Her smile felt heavier now, as if every guest could see through it. The groom spotted her and approached quickly. You disappeared, he said softly. Are you all right? Her chest tightened. His voice was calm, but she remembered the message. Trust me. She forced a nod. I'm fine. His eyes searched hers. You don't look fine. Her lips curled into a smile sharp enough to cut. Maybe I'm just noticing things more clearly tonight. A flicker crossed his face. Too quick, but she caught it. A hesitation. A warning. Before he could answer, her sister joined them, slipping between them with a laugh. Everyone's asking for the bride and groom. Stop hiding. The bride looked at her sister, really looked. The blush still lingered. The eyes wouldn't meet hers. For a moment, silence stretched. The bride wanted to scream, to throw the phone into her sister's face, to tear the truth into the open. But instead, she smiled. You're right, she said. No more hiding. The groom relaxed, relieved. Her sister smiled, convinced. But inside, the bride's decision shifted. If they wanted to hide, she would let them. She would watch. She would wait. Because sooner or later, one of them would slip. And when they did, she'd be ready. The bride returned to the table, her smile fixed in place. The hall buzzed with laughter, plates clinking, glasses raised. But her mind was sharp now, her heart steady. If they thought she was blind, they were wrong. When the groom leaned close to pour her a drink, she whispered, strange, isn't it, how close you and my sister have become? His hand froze for half a second before the wine filled her glass. Close, he said smoothly. She's your sister. Of course I respect her. Respect. A word too polished, too rehearsed. Later, when her sister came by, the bride touched her arm lightly. You've been with him a lot tonight, she said softly. The sister blinked, surprised. Naturally. He's family now. Family. The same word, the same excuse. The bride's smile didn't falter, but inside, the pieces were falling into place. She pushed the test further. I wonder, she said, voice casual, what you two were whispering about earlier. Her sister's face shifted, just for an instant. Then laughter bubbled up, light and dismissive. Oh, nothing. You're imagining things. The bride leaned back, nodding. Of course. But she wasn't imagining. She'd seen the glance. She'd read the message. And now she'd confirmed it. Both of them knew how to lie. The bride sat at the head table, eyes scanning the crowd. Everyone laughed, clapped, toasted. To them, this night was perfect. Only she knew the rot underneath. The groom leaned close, whispering promises in her ear. Her sister drifted nearby, laughing with cousins, stealing glances when she thought no one noticed. The bride's chest tightened. She wanted to scream, to tear the lies open. But the cheers around her pressed down like chains. Family, guests, honor, reputation, all of it balanced on her silence. She raised her glass, pretending to sip. Her reflection in the wine looked like a stranger, a woman trapped in her own wedding. Every time she turned her head, she saw them. Him, smiling too easily. Her, glowing too brightly. She was caged, dressed in gold. And with every passing minute, the walls closed in. The bride escaped to the corridor again, the noise of the reception fading behind her. She pressed her back against the wall, fighting for air. Footsteps echoed. She froze. The groom's voice carried down the hall, low, hurried. Not tonight. Someone will notice. Her blood ran cold. Her sister's reply was sharper. They already do. You can't hide forever. The bride's chest burned. Every word stabbed deeper. She stepped forward, then stopped, hidden in the shadows. Her hands shook, but her ears strained. The groom sighed. Just trust me. After tonight, we'll figure it out. Her sister's silence stretched, heavy, dangerous. Then, fine. But you promised me more than this. The bride's breath caught. Her knees weakened. Promised. The word was a dagger. She slipped back before they could see her, her veil brushing the wall. Her heart hammered, her body trembling. The letter had told the truth, and now their voices had confirmed it. Her marriage was half a wedding, and the other half belonged to her sister. The bride walked back into the hall, her face pale beneath the golden veil. Applause rose as the music swelled, guests calling her name. She smiled, a hollow, practiced smile, a mask no one could see through. The groom returned moments later, his charm untouched. Her sister slipped in behind him, cheeks flushed, laughter forced. No one noticed, no one cared, except her. When relatives pulled her to the dance floor, she moved like a puppet, every step perfect, every gesture flawless. But her mind burned. The words replayed. You promised me more than this. After tonight, we'll figure it out. She clutched her veil tighter, nails digging into her palm. They thought she would stay quiet. They thought she would never act. But silence was only her disguise. As the drums thundered and petals rained from above, she made her choice. She would not confront them tonight. Not here. Not yet. She would wait. She would watch. And when the moment was right, she would tear their lies apart. The bride sat among cousins as the music softened and food was served. Her mask stayed firm, her smile polite. A distant aunt leaned across the table, her voice lowered with curiosity. Strange, isn't it? How close he is with your sister. The bride's heart froze. Her glass nearly slipped from her hand. What do you mean? She asked lightly. The aunt shrugged, chewing her food. Oh, nothing scandalous. Just, I noticed. At the engagement, he spoke to her more than you. At the Mendi too. Some people even teased about it. The bride's stomach turned. So others had seen it. Others had noticed. Teased? She asked, forcing a laugh. Yes, the aunt said, smiling. But don't worry, it's natural. She's young, pretty, and unmarried. People talk. Still, she lowered her voice. Watch carefully. Men are weak. Sisters are dangerous. The words slid into the bride's chest like poison. She excused herself quickly, her smile breaking the moment she turned away. In the shadows of the hall, she breathed hard, clutching her sleeve where the letter still hid. It wasn't just her imagination. The world had seen pieces of their secret too. And if the world could see it, how long before the whole family knew? The music rose again as the bride was pulled back to the center. Guests clapped in rhythm, calling for another dance. The groom held her hand, leading her forward with practiced grace. She followed, her body stiff beneath the weight of gold. Her sister stepped out too, laughing as cousins dragged her along. The circle widened. Bride, groom, sister. 3 points in a triangle no one else could see. The drums quickened. The crowd cheered. Laughter filled the air. And then it happened. As the dance spun, the groom reached out instinctively, but not for the bride, for her sister. His hand brushed her wrist, steadying her before she stumbled. The touch lingered. Too long, too soft. The bride froze. It was only a second, a fleeting moment, but she saw it. And worse, so did others. A murmur rippled through the crowd. A cousin whispered to another. An aunt frowned. The bride's smile cracked for the first time that night. The groom quickly pulled her close, masking the slip with charm. Her sister laughed too loudly, pretending nothing happened, but the whispers had started, and whispers never stay quiet for long. The applause faded, the drums slowed, the dance was over, but inside her, the fire had only begun. The bride returned to her seat, her smile thin, brittle, her hands shook beneath the tablecloth, clutching her veil tight. Across the hall, cousins whispered, and Aunt's eyes lingered too long. The air was thick with questions, though no one dared speak them aloud. The groom sat beside her, his hand brushing hers, warm and confident, as if nothing had happened, as if his slip had not cracked the room. Her sister laughed with guests, glowing too brightly, clapping too eagerly, but the bride saw it, the flicker in her eyes, the tremor in her laugh. She was nervous. The bride's chest burned. The letter, the whispers, the glance, the slip, every piece now stacked into a truth she could no longer ignore. She smiled for the crowd, but her heart was screaming, not tonight, not tomorrow, but soon. She would stop playing the quiet bride, and when she did, the fire inside her would burn everything in its path. The bride hadn't moved from her seat when her aunt leaned close. Her voice was low, sharp, careful. Child, people are noticing things. The bride's chest tightened. What things? She asked, her tone light, her smile fixed. The aunt's eyes flicked toward the groom, then toward her sister. You don't need me to spell it out. The bride forced a laugh. You're imagining, but the aunt only shook her head. Imagination doesn't start whispers. The bride turned away quickly, her smile stiff as stone. Across the hall, she saw two cousins exchanging looks. An uncle muttered something under his breath. The crowd had seen the slip. The crowd had smelled the smoke, and now, the fire would spread. Her sister passed by, brushing her shoulder with a casual hand. Too casual, too knowing. The bride didn't look at her. If she did, she might explode. Instead, she tightened her grip on her sleeve where the letter still hid, the paper damp with sweat. She had wanted proof. Now she had it, and soon, everyone else would too. The bride found her sister alone in the dressing room, fixing her dupatta in the mirror. The noise of the reception throbbed faintly through the walls. Their eyes met in the glass. Neither spoke at first. Finally, the bride broke the silence. You seemed very comfortable out there. Her sister's hands froze for a heartbeat, then moved again. With what? With him. The mirror caught the flicker in her sister's eyes. Annoyance. Fear. Something she tried to bury with a laugh. Don't be ridiculous, she said. He's your husband. The bride stepped closer. Yes, my husband. So why does everyone think he belongs to you? The sister turned sharply, color rising in her cheeks. Everyone? Or just you? Their faces were inches apart now. One smiling, one trembling, both hiding truths. The bride whispered, voice low and sharp. Be careful. People are watching. They're already talking. Her sister swallowed hard. For once, she didn't answer, and silence was louder than any denial. The groom was laughing with uncles when a cousin pulled him aside. A young man, bold, careless with words. Bye. He grinned. Don't mind me asking, but what's going on with you and the younger sister? The groom froze. Only for a second, but the pause was enough. What do you mean? He asked smoothly. The cousin chuckled, sipping his drink. Everyone saw it. The dance, the looks. If I didn't know better. He let the sentence dangle. The groom's jaw tightened. She's my wife's sister. Nothing more. The cousin raised his hands. Of course. Just saying. You might want to be careful. People are talking. The groom forced a laugh, clapping him on the shoulder. Let them talk. But when he turned, his smile faltered. Across the hall, the bride was watching, her eyes sharp, unblinking. And for the first time that night, he looked away first. The bride slipped away to the empty corridor again. Moments later, the groom followed, his steps quick. You've been quiet all night, he said softly. Too quiet. She turned to him, veil heavy around her face. Maybe I've just been watching. His brows pulled together. Watching what? She let the silence stretch, her eyes locked on his. You and her. The groom froze, then forced a smile. She's your sister. My family now. What else would I be with her? Her lips curved into a bitter smile. Family doesn't look the way you looked at her. His jaw tightened. For the first time that night, he had no ready answer. The bride stepped closer, her voice a whisper that cut like glass. Be careful. People are noticing. And I am too. She brushed past him before he could respond, her footsteps echoing down the hall. The groom stood alone, fists clenched, mask cracking. The bride returned to the hall, her mask back in place. But across the room, her sister's smile faltered. She had seen. She had felt the shift. The air around them was heavier now, sharper. Later, when the guests were busy with dessert, the sister found her alone near the stage. Her voice was low, urgent. What did you say to him? The bride tilted her head. Why? Because he looks different. Her sister's hands trembled as she adjusted her bangles. You didn't. She swallowed. You didn't tell him, did you? The bride's eyes narrowed. Tell him what? Her sister froze. For a second, panic broke through her face before she covered it with a smile. Nothing. Forget it. The bride didn't answer. She just held her sister's gaze until her laughter cracked, until the silence swallowed her words. For the first time, her sister looked afraid, and fear was louder than any confession. The bride slipped away again, her heart pounding against the walls of her chest. The hall buzzed behind her, but she followed the faint sound of voices down the corridor. There, the groom and her sister, alone. She froze in the shadow, watching. Her sister's voice was sharp, desperate. You promised me more. I can't keep standing here like nothing's happening. The groom's tone was low, urgent. Not here, not tonight. Just hold on. Her sister grabbed his hand, fingers trembling. I'm tired of waiting. The bride's breath caught. Her body stiffened. The sight seared into her eyes. Her groom's hand inside her sister's. For a moment, neither of them noticed her. The world narrowed to their whispers, their stolen touch. Then, her heel scraped against the floor. They looked up. 3 pairs of eyes locked. The hall's music muffled, distant, as silence swallowed the corridor. The groom snatched his hand back. Her sister's face drained of color. The bride stepped forward slowly, veil trembling. No words, just the truth, hanging heavy between them. The corridor felt colder than stone. 3 of them stood frozen, locked in each other's gaze. The groom opened his mouth first. It's not what you think. The bride raised her hand, stopping him. Her face was calm, too calm, and that calm was more terrifying than anger. Her sister stammered. It was nothing, I swear. The bride's eyes slid over her, unblinking. Not a word, not a sound. She turned slowly, her veil brushing against the floor, and without a single glance back, she walked away. Her heels clicked against the marble, steady, controlled. Each step echoed louder than a scream. Behind her, whispers of panic. The groom's sharp breath. Her sister's choked plea. But she did not stop, did not answer, did not break, because sometimes silence says more than rage ever could. And tonight, her silence promised one thing. The war had begun. The bride returned to the hall, her face unreadable. She took her seat, lifting her glass as if nothing had happened. Moments later, the groom appeared at her side. His smile was broad, his voice steady, too steady. Everyone's waiting for us, he whispered, his hand firm on hers. She didn't look at him. She didn't speak. Don't do this, he murmured, low enough that only she could hear. You'll ruin everything. Her eyes flicked to him, sharp as a blade. Everything's already ruined. His grip tightened, the smile never leaving his face. To them, we're perfect. To the family, we're whole. Don't let a misunderstanding destroy that. The word burned. burned. Misunderstanding. Her lips curved into the faintest smile, cold and thin. Then don't give me more to understand. The groom froze for half a second before raising his glass high, turning to the crowd. To my bride, he announced, charm returning in an instant. Cheers erupted. Applause thundered. But beneath the noise, his jaw clenched. Her silence had wounded him more than her words ever could. The sister slipped out of the hall, her smile collapsing the moment no one was watching. Her hands shook as she leaned against the wall, breath unsteady. Everything was falling apart. The letter, the whispers, the bride's silence, all of it closing in. She pulled out her phone, typing quickly. We can't keep this up. She knows. Her finger hovered over send. Then she stopped. The bride was standing at the end of the corridor, watching. The sister's breath caught. She fumbled to lock the screen, hiding the phone in her clutch. She's looking for you, she stammered, forcing a laugh. Your friends are asking. The bride didn't answer. Her eyes burned, steady, silent. The sister swallowed hard, words spilling without control. It's not what you think, you don't understand. Her voice cracked. Tears pricked her eyes. For the first time, her mask shattered completely. The bride stepped closer, her whisper colder than ice. I understand more than you think. And then she walked past, leaving her sister trembling in the shadows, clutching her phone like it was poison. The groom found her in the corridor, eyes red, hands shaking. What did you say to her? His voice was low, sharp. The sister flinched. Nothing. I swear. She was there, staring. I couldn't what? His jaw tightened, fists curling. Do you want to ruin us both? Tears spilled down her cheeks. She already knows. She saw us. The groom glanced around, pulling her deeper into the shadows. You keep your mouth shut. Do you understand? She's my sister. She's your enemy now, he hissed. If you slip, if you confess anything, it's over. For you, for me, for everything. The sister trembled, biting back sobs. I can't keep lying. His hand gripped her wrist hard enough to make her wince. You will, or I'll make sure she's the one they blame when this all comes out. Her eyes widened, fear choking her voice. You wouldn't. Try me. Footsteps echoed down the hall. Both of them froze. The bride was walking past, veil trailing, eyes straight ahead. She hadn't stopped. She hadn't spoken, but she had heard enough. The bride returned to the hall, her expression calm, almost serene. But inside, her thoughts burned like fire. She had seen their hands. She had heard their whispers. And now she had listened to his threats. They thought fear would keep her quiet. They thought silence was weakness. They were wrong. As the families laughed and clapped, the bride smiled with them. Her mask was perfect, flawless. But beneath it, every glance she gave was deliberate. Every move, calculated. Her sister avoided her eyes. The groom never left her side. But neither realized the truth. They were no longer hiding from her. They were trapped by her. The bride's fingers brushed the hidden letter in her sleeve. She had held it close all night, a secret weapon waiting for its moment. And now she knew. She would not destroy them in anger. She would destroy them with precision. The time for silence was ending. The time for strategy had begun. Dinner was being served. Relatives crowded around the long table, plates clinking, laughter thick in the air. The bride sat beside the groom, her sister across from them. Every eye turned when the groom reached to fill her plate. She smiled sweetly. Why don't you serve my sister first? You've been so attentive to her all night. The hall quieted for a breath. The groom froze, then forced a chuckle. Of course, she's family now. He scooped food onto her sister's plate. The sister's hand trembled as she took it. A few aunts exchanged looks. A cousin smirked knowingly. The bride's smile didn't falter. She sipped her water, her voice soft but sharp enough to cut. You're always so considerate. The groom glanced at her quickly, searching for meaning. Her sister looked down, cheeks burning. And just like that, the whispers around the table began again. Low, curious, dangerous. The bride leaned back in her chair, heart steady. The first move had been made. The game had begun. The whispers spread quickly, soft as smoke. The bride sat still, calm, letting them swirl around her. The groom noticed, and in the next instant, his charm returned like a mask. He rose from his seat, glass raised. Family, he called, smiling wide. I want to thank my sister-in-law tonight. She's been like a shadow, helping with every detail of this wedding. All eyes turned to the sister. She forced a smile, color rushing to her cheeks. The groom continued, voice loud, confident. She's the reason this night looks so perfect, and I'm lucky. He glanced at the bride, squeezing her hand, to have married not just a wife, but a family that feels like mine already. Laughter and applause rippled through the hall. The tension loosened. The family smiled again, but the bride felt his hand on hers, tight, too tight. A silent warning beneath the performance. Her smile stayed fixed. He thought he had regained control, but she knew the truth. The more he performed, the more cracks would show, and soon, no toast would be enough to save him. The applause faded, but the sister's smile did not return. She excused herself quickly, slipping into the dressing room, her steps uneven. Alone, she pressed her hands against the table, breath ragged. Her reflection in the mirror stared back, eyes swollen, lips trembling. She could not keep this up, not with the family watching, not with her sister silent and sharp as a blade. The door creaked. The bride stepped in. Her veil shimmered, her face calm. The sister's voice broke. Please, don't ruin me. The bride said nothing. She walked closer, eyes steady, unreadable. Tears spilled down the sister's cheeks. He promised me, before you. He swore I was the one. And now I'm nothing. Her sobs shook the room. The bride stood over her, silent, letting the confession hang heavy in the air. Finally, she whispered, you're wrong. You're not nothing. You're evidence. The sister's breath caught. She looked up, shocked, as the bride turned and left, her veil trailing behind her like a storm about to break. The bride returned to the hall, her face calm, her steps measured, but the noise had shifted. It wasn't laughter anymore. It was whispers. Two aunts leaned close, eyes sharp. Did you see the way she looked at him? One muttered, and how he touched her arm, too freely. The other answered. Across the table, cousins traded smirks, whispering behind hands. An uncle frowned, muttering, not proper, not tonight. The bride sat beside the groom again, her silence sharper than any word. She didn't need to say a thing. The family was already piecing the puzzle together. The groom noticed too. His smile was stretched too wide now, his voice louder than needed, filling every pause with jokes. The harder he tried, the more obvious it became. And the sister, her eyes were red, her laughter cracked, her movements stiff. Every second, her mask slipped further. The bride lifted her glass slowly, watching them both. The whispers were no longer smoke. They were fire, spreading fast, and soon, the whole hall would burn. The hall buzzed with murmurs, tension thick in the air. The bride rose suddenly, glass in hand. All of you, she said softly, her voice cutting through the noise, have been so kind tonight, so generous with your blessings. The room stilled, eyes turned. The groom's smile faltered. She looked at him, then at her sister. Her lips curved. But I've learned something tonight. Blessings mean little when promises are broken. The hall froze. A spoon clattered onto a plate. An aunt gasped softly. The groom shifted in his chair, laughter forced. She's joking, he said quickly. Just nerves. But the bride reached into her sleeve. Her fingers brushed the crumpled paper, pulling it halfway into view. The envelope. Her sister's breath hitched, color draining from her face. The bride smiled sweetly, sliding it back. Not now, she whispered. Not yet. She raised her glass high. To truth, she said, and drank. The crowd erupted in uneasy applause, but the whispers roared louder than the music. The applause faded into murmurs. The bride lowered her glass, calm as stone. The groom stood quickly, his smile too wide. My wife, he said loudly, is tired. It's been a long day. You know how emotions run high at weddings. Laughter flickered weakly across the hall, uncertain, forced. He slipped his arm around her shoulders, pulling her close. Come, sit, he whispered harshly in her ear. Don't do this. Her eyes didn't move from the crowd. They were all watching, waiting. He lifted his glass. To my bride, he announced again, voice booming. She is the heart of this family now. Nothing matters more than her happiness. The family clapped politely, but the tension was heavy, unbroken. A cousin leaned to another, whispering. An aunt's frown deepened. The groom's hand tightened painfully on the bride's shoulder. His smile never faltered, but his eyes, hidden from the crowd, burned with warning. She tilted her head slightly, her own smile calm, deadly. For the first time, he realized he wasn't the one in control anymore. The hall hummed with unease. The groom still smiled, his hand heavy on the bride's shoulder, but all eyes were darting between him, the bride, and her sister. The sister's fork slipped from her hand, clattering loud against the plate. Every head turned. Her face was pale, her lips trembling. She tried to laugh, to mask it, but the sound cracked in her throat. An aunt whispered sharply, "Look at her, she's shaking." Another leaned forward. What's going on between them? The sister stood suddenly, pushing back her chair. I can't. Her voice cracked, words tangled in panic. I need air. She stumbled toward the corridor, tears spilling before she reached the door. Gasps rippled through the hall. Whispers turned into sharp, restless voices. Something was wrong. Everyone knew it now. The groom's smile broke for the first time, his jaw tightening as he glanced at the bride. Her expression remained calm, steady, unmoved. She had waited for this, and tomorrow, no one would forget what they saw tonight. The hall was silent. All eyes turned to the bride. Her sister had fled in tears. The groom's mask was shattered, his hand frozen in the air. Slowly, the bride rose. Her veil slipped back, her face calm, unshaken. I want to thank you all, she said, her voice carrying through the hall, for being here tonight, for blessing this marriage. Her gaze swept the room. Every aunt, every cousin, every whisper now hanging on her words. But a marriage, she continued, cannot survive on blessings alone. She reached into her sleeve. The envelope, crumpled, worn, but heavy as truth. Her sister's sobs echoed faintly from the corridor. The groom stepped forward, panic flashing in his eyes. Don't, he hissed. She smiled at him, cold and steady. It's already done. She held up the letter, the words sharp enough to cut the room apart. He is engaged to your sister as well. Gasps erupted. Chairs scraped. Relatives muttered, shocked, some rising to their feet. The groom stammered, his charm gone. Her sister stumbled back inside, face wet with tears. The bride let the silence settle like ash. Then she whispered, steady, final, this was never a wedding. It was only half. She placed the letter on the table, turned, and walked away, leaving the music, the whispers, the family, the lies, behind her. And the hall, once filled with celebration, split open into chaos.